And the last phase of production is called post-production. This is my favorite part of production. Simply put, post-production is the phase after production. There are various stages that one must go through to professionally post-produce a video project. This may include importing video clips, backing up video clips, editing video clips, adding all sorts of graphics, effects, visual effects, titles, color corrections, film looks, working on sound effects, adding music, and then doing the necessary backups and exports of the files. Obviously, even though it may be easy to assume that post-production merely involves editing, there are obviously quite a number of stages that are part of the professional post-production attempt. The post-production process involves many things, and principally it involves editing. Editing is the process of importing footage, making splices which allow the editor to remove unwanted takes, and then assembling the shots in an order so as to make an effective presentation. Editors have access to editing programs of various designs. Some editing programs are targeted for consumers and offer features such as a myriad of transition styles, which if they were used would actually detract from the professionality of the final product. When it comes to editing, it is best to stick with simple cuts and to try to migrate towards a professional editing program if you're using an entry-level program. Another thing you may come across is the idea of transcoding and intermediate formats. Provided you have the computer power necessary to do that, it is a good idea. When you film a scene, the camera will record the visual and the audio data to compressed files. The next step is to import the files for editing into the computer. The editing application has the ability to edit the files in their native form, but professionals often do one more step. They transcode the compressed files or convert them to another codec, to an intermediate format, which is less compressed. By converting to an intermediate, effects work and coloring work can be done at a higher quality level, and the final export can maintain its quality. A common intermediate format is Apple ProRes and is available through Final Cut Pro. Another common intermediate format is Avid DNx HD, which is available on editing programs such as Media Composer. Another interesting concept is the idea of color correction, and learning how to do it will dramatically improve the look of your work. Color correction allows the editor to correct problems with the image. For example, if the image is underexposed, you can pull up detail from the darks by increasing the brightness. Color correction allows you to fix problems. There's primary correction versus secondary correction. Primary correction simply refers to changes that are made to the whole image. The goal is to ensure color and contrast continuity. That is, to ensure that shot after shot are matched in color and contrast. Now, secondary correction is more specific than primary correction. Secondary correction refers to changes that are made to only a portion of the image. A mask is often used as a selection tool to ensure corrections are done only within predefined areas. Now, I'm not a music expert, but I do know that music is essential to video production. Music is often a key component of a video project. A project usually needs at least one, but often a few pieces of music to create an impactful presentation. We also need to go over the idea of the backup, the master, and exports. After doing a lot of work to create the project, it would be a shame to not back it up properly. After going through time-consuming, pre-production, expensive, challenging, and labor-intensive production and thorough editing of a project, you want to make sure to save all that work in the most optimum file container format. It's best to export the final copy of the project to a high-resolution master file. That file, usually in Avid DNx HD or Apple ProRes, will preserve the quality of the work in a format that's as close to uncompressed quality as possible, but without the huge storage requirements that uncompressed would require. Also, it is a good idea to make a backup copy, a duplicate copy of the master file. From this master file, most likely need to transcode to highly compressed formats for digital delivery on the web. The image below is an example of the waveform from an audio file recorded on the computer. It is clear from the low amplitude of the waveform that the level of the recording was not set high enough during the recording. As a result, there is now space above and below the waveform that was not used. If the level had been set higher, more detail would have been captured. The image below is of a waveform that has been recorded at a good level. Though there is enough detail in the recording now, the level could still be boosted a bit more. The waveform below represents a very good recording level. As you can see, the waveform is not clipped, but is definitely using up most of the room available and thus capturing maximum detail. And lastly, I have included a clipped recording in this presentation to show you what not to do. Never record a waveform that looks like this image. The peaks are clipped at the top and at the bottom of the waveform, which destroys different parts of the sound. And I just want to mention syncing video and audio. There are tools available such as those in Final Cut which can do automatic sync, but at the very least in this course we will go over manual sync. The editor can sync footage manually. The editor first finds the section of the take where the clapboard closes. The closing of the clapboard will produce a spike on the audio track, which will be very visible and very defined. The editor looks at the spike in the original low-quality audio track and then finds the same spike in the new high-quality externally recorded track. The editor then proceeds to align the two audio tracks by aligning the spikes of the two tracks. This is actually kind of a difficult thing to do, so I recommend doing a clapboard spike at the beginning of the take and at the end of the take and trying to align both tracks. And this will sort of avoid any sample rate issues and helps to double check the whole process and make sure that it's as close as it can be. Thank you very much for taking the course.